Hello class, I am Regina Harris and I'll be teaching you about the scientific method, the experimental variables. The experimenter makes a special effort to keep other factors constant so that they will not affect the outcome. Those factors are called the control variables. The controls are used to compare for a comparison. For example, Mr. Uchime wants to figure out if Rogaine will help his hair grow. His twin brother, Uchime twin, will use the control variables, and Mr. Uchime will use the Rogaine treatment plan. The control variables for the experiment will be the water, because we already know water do not regrow hair. The factor that is changed is known as the independent variable. The factor that is measured and observed is called the dependent variable.
Alright, good day class. This is Mr. Uchime, and I'll be talking about how to determine what's the independent and dependent variables. So if we look at these two sentences here, this one and this one, Mr. Uchime wants to figure out if Rogaine will help his hair grow back, and the second one, Regina Harris wants to figure out how high these new Jordans will make her jump. Let's take a look in detail at these two new sentences. The IV or independent variable is basically a cause. Sort of like the cause and effect relationship. We'll use that, cause and effect relationship. This gets changed. So this is the factor that's been, the variable that gets changed is the independent variable. Variable that is changed. So let's take a look at this one. Mr. Uchime wants to figure out if Rogaine will help his hair grow. Now, we say it's the factor that's being changed. Obviously, Mr. Uchime doesn't use whatever treatment that he's about to use in this next sentence. So what's being changed is the Rogaine. So that's our independent variable. So the independent variable, or the IV, is the Rogaine. Now what the Rogaine is supposed to do, or what we want to measure, or what we want to observe, is the dependent variable. So if we read this sentence again, Mr. Uchime wants to figure out if Rogaine will help his hair grow back. We'll know that what we're observing and what we're measuring is hair growth. So we'll go ahead and put the TH here so we'll be, I guess, grammatically correct. So hair growth. Let's read the second sentence. Regina Harris wants to figure out how high these new Jordans will make her jump. Well, if we go back to this one, the independent variable, and how it works, the variable that's changed, obviously she doesn't wear Jordans. So she wants to see if these new Jordans will make her jump higher. So the new Jordans will be the independent variable. Now what are these Jordans supposed to do? That's right. It's supposed to make her jump higher. That is our independent variable. So make her jump higher. So we're measuring how high she jumps. That's the dependent variable because we can measure, we can see, and we can observe that. And the independent variable, which we can change, are the Jordans. Now let's say we wanted to do a baseline control group. All we would do is make her jump without shoes on. That'll be the baseline. So her jumping without the shoes, and then her jumping with the shoes, and we can see the difference in height. So let's go to this next one. This will help sum it all up and put it all together. Jim is worried about his 40 time in the 40-yard dash. Jim decides to try explosion training, which is said to increase speed by 1/10 of a second. Jim decides to run a pre-explosion training 40-yard dash and recorded the time at 4.8 seconds. For the next 2 weeks, Jim does explosive training. After the 2 weeks, Jim runs another 40-yard dash and recorded a time of 4.32 seconds. Let me put a S over here. What are the independent, dependent, and control variables that were being tested? Now let's go back. Let's start with control. Control is another way of saying baseline. What are we using to compare it against? He ran a drill before he even did the explosion training. That pre-explosion training 40-yard dash time is the baseline. So that's our control group. So I'll put CV. The independent variable is what we can change. So what he's changing is his workout routine, which is called the what? That's right, explosion training. So the explosion training would be the IV. Now, what is that explosion training supposed to do? Once again, it's cause and effect. Cause and effect. So we already know our cause, which is explosive training. Then the effect would be what? Increase in speed. So we're measuring how fast he can run that 40-yard time. This last one I hope gave you, more insight on how to determine the IV and DV. If you have any more questions, you can meet me in the hall, in class, or after school for tutorial on Wednesdays. Have a nice day.